Assalamu alaikum everyone. Are you guys listening to me? Farah, Aliza, are you guys listening to me? Aliza, might be you have some internet issue. Farah, are you listening to me? If yes, please respond. Okay, today we are going to discuss the Crucible with reference to its Act 1 and Act 2. Let me explain for a while that what's the difference in the acts and the scenes. So, an act is a part of a play that is defined by elements such as the rising action, climax, and then the resolution. Okay, a scene normally represents actions happening in one place at one time and is marked off from the next scene by a curtain or a blackout or a brief emptying of the stage. The one act is something like happening in one scene is happening at one place and the other scene is happening at the other place, and there is a little, you know what, a emptying of the stage for a while. So this is the main difference in acts and scenes. An act basically is any play can have two, three, four acts, okay, and more than four scenes as well. For example, one act can be consistent of three to four scenes as well, okay. So this is the idea behind the scenes and the you know what something like acts. So let's see what happens in the Crucible's Act 1, Scene 1. So the Crucible begins in the house of Reverend Paris, whose daughter Betty lies unconscious in bed upstairs. Prior to the opening of the play, Paris discovered Betty, his niece Abigail, both the girls, Betty and Abigail. Betty is Paris, daughter, and Abigail, his niece. And Tituba, who is um, her, his black slave dancing in the forest outside of Salem at midnight. All of these girls, they were dancing in the midnight or at the midnight in the forest. After Paris came out of the bushes, Betty lost unconsciousness and lost her consciousness and has remained in this state for a longer period of time. The town physician uh, who was the Dr. Grist, who has not been able to determine why Betty is ill. He suggests that might be witchcraft can be a possible cause if she is not, responding and she is in this consciousness sort of the state. Paris troubled because he knows that Abigail has not been entirely truthful regarding her activities in the woods. And he says that he saw her and Betty, Abigail and Betty, dancing like, you know what, something heathens, like something immoral sort of the person. They were dancing there. Tituba, who is a slave, moving back and forth over a fire while mumbling unintelligibly, and unidentified female running nude through the forest. She was running nude through the forest. Abigail denies that she and the other girls were participating in witchcraft. They were denying this thing. They were saying that we were not involved in the witchcraft. But Paris suspects she is lying. He is not believing the girls. He thinks that she and Betty have conjured spells. Paris also questions Abigail about her character and the reason why Goody Proctor, or Elizabeth, who is the wife of John Proctor and a very respected woman in Salem, dismissed her from working as a Proctor servant. He wants to know that what was the reason why Goody Proctor, she just dismissed her from the job. She wanted to know that. Okay, Mr. and Mrs. Putnam were the person members of one of the prominent families in Salem. They entered the room and declared that Betty's illness results from witchcraft. They were also with the idea that they were involved in the witchcraft. They revealed to Paris that their daughter Ruth has also fallen in a strange trance. Now, Ruth's condition, coupled with the fact that seven of Mrs. Putnam's children have died as infants under mysterious conditions, convinced the Putnams that evil spirits are at work in Salem. Mrs. Putnam, she was with the view that her daughter Ruth, she is also not in a good state, and she has lost her seven children before, and now she is suspecting like they people, the girls, they were involved in the witchcraft, and this is the main reason. So Putram tries to persuade Paris that he should declare the presence of witchcraft, but Paris is worried because he knows that a group of town people want to remove him from Salem, and a witchcraft scandal involving his family would give them the power to, you know what, to throw this person, Reverend Paris, from the town. So he is not happy with this situation. So basically, Reverend Paris, he does not want to leave his state or uh, the position, his position, and he is now in, you know what, he's tensed, or he's worried about the situation, and he is something like he's feeling that might be this case um, can lost his job. Okay, so Abigail and Mercy, the Putnam servant. Now Mercy is Putnam servant. They try to wake Betty. Abigail tells Mercy what to say when she is questioned about what she was doing in the woods. She informs Mercy that Paris knows that they were dancing in the woods. She also says that she knows Tituba called to Ruth's dead sister. Abigail reveals that Mercy is the female that Paris saw running naked through the woods. Abigail reveals that Mercy was the female that Paris saw when she was running a nude through the forest. Mary Warren enters the room and tells Abigail that everyone in Salem blames witchcraft for Betty's illness. Everyone was claiming that this is only because of witchcraft that Betty is ill. So the idea that the town people will label her and the other girls witches frightens and worries Mary Warren. They were saying that now the people are accused, they are going to consider us the witches, and they are going to consider us that we people were involved in the scenario of witchcraft. So um, Abigail tells Betty and that Paris knows everything they did in the wood. Betty confronts Abigail and accuses her of not admitting she drank blood. She's just saying it. And she also accuses her of casting a spell in order to kill Goody Proctor. Now, Betty is the person who is accusing Abigail that she has cast some spell in order to kill Goody Proctor, threatening to practice with witchcraft on Betty, Mercy, and Mary Warren. If they tell anyone about the spell, Abigail tells them to say that they only danced, that YouTuber raised Ruth's sisters from the dead, and that nothing else happened. Betty collapses again in the faint state of the thing. She is again, she just gets faint. So this is the room, this is the, you know what, this is the thing, like when Mary Warren enters the room and tells Abigail that everyone in Salem blames witchcraft for Betty's illness, the idea that town people will label her and the other girls witches frightens and it is actually making Mary Warren worried. And the three girls begins to argue, and Betty wakes, and then she just behaves like this, and they were like in this sort of the thing. Okay, in the scene three, John Proctor and Abigail are alone in the room with Betty. Proctor questions Abigail about Betty's illness, and she is suspecting that responsibility for this mischief probably lies with Abigail, and she denies any involvement in witchcraft. Begins Abigail then states that she and the girls merely dance in the wood. Again and again, there is only, guys, one thing, that is we guys were just dancing in the word, and we guys were not doing anything, like we were not performing the witchcraft and all. So Abigail asks Proctor if he has come to see her, but Proctor denies. The conversation reveals that approximately 7 months earlier, Abigail and Proctor had an affair while Abigail lived and worked in the Proctor household. Now this thing is very much clear that after before 7 months, uh, Abigail and Proctor, they were in relationship, like they were having in a affair sort of the thing. Abigail and Proctor had an affair while Abigail lived and worked in the Proctor household when she was living there. Now Abigail accuses Proctor of still being in love with her, even though he will not admit it to her and by himself. He was denying this fact. But Abigail, she was again and again, she was this of the view that now you are in love with me and all. So now we are at the scene four of the act one. Betty begins screaming and covering her ears, and then Mrs. Putnam interprets Betty's behavior as a sign of witchcraft. No, the people are, they are just saying that the way she is behaving, it is just because of witchcraft. So, because she cannot bear to hear the Lord's name, Rebecca Nurse, now there is another person, she is entering. Rebecca Nurse instructs everyone to be quiet and then stands by Petty until she calms down. She just say, no, please be quiet and just leave it so that she may get calm. Putnam asks Rebecca to visit Ruth and attempt to wake her. Rebecca tells Putnam and the others that Betty and Ruth's condition will pass, and she warns Paris that looking to witchcraft would be a dangerous explanation of the girl's behavior. She was uh, she was just warning Paris. Putnam declares that witchcraft is to blame for the loss of his 7 infant children, and as you know that she has lost her 7 children, and she is of the view that might be witchcraft was the only reason that she has lost her 7 children. And Mrs. Putnam's become hostile to Rebecca. She is suspicious because Rebecca has not lost any of her children. Now she is with the view, might be she is thinking like might be she is involved in witchcraft and she is doing so because she has not lost any of her child and all. So Proctor criticizes Paris for preaching about money rather than God. He criticized Paris Proctor. Putnam Proctor and Giles Corey, another person's entry, argue with Paris about his salary and his expectations as the minister of Salem. Paris claims that affection within Salem is determined to get rid of him. The men begin discussing lawsuits and land rights. Putnam accuses Proctor of stealing wood from his land. Putnam was accusing Proctor that he has, you know what, he is stealing wood from his land. But Proctor says he brought the land 5 months before. There are some of the things, for example, Mrs. Putnam, she has lost her 7 children. This thing can be asked in your midterm exam, for example, in the form of MCQs. Other than that, who was ill? with Betty. Who was the other girl who was ill? So Ruth was the other girl. She was ill, and uh, I can ask regarding the characters. For example, uh, Mr. and Mrs. Putnam. They were having the child Betty, Abigail, or Ruth. So Ruth is the correct option, as you know. So then Putnam accuses Proctor, and then Putnam states that Goody Nurse husband did not own the land because it belonged to Putnam's grandfather. Proctor counters Putnam. So these were the some petty affairs, or the arguments they were going on between them. So then comes the scene 5. Over here, we come to know that Abigail admits that she has given herself to the devil by writing her name in his book. She renounces the devil and says that she wants the sweet love of Jesus. Abigail also claims to have seen Goody Good and Goody Osborne with the devil, along with the bishop. Betty wakes up and claims that she saw George, Jacob, and Goody Hove with the devil. And then Act 1 ends with Abigail and Betty naming individuals that they have seen with the devil. Now, Abigail, she has uh, she has confessed that she was given herself to the devil and all, and she has announces some of the names of the people, some of the names of other people who were seen. And Abigail was saying that she has seen some of the other people. They were also involved in this witchcraft and all. Now, this is the scene. Let's come towards the Act 2. What happens in Act 2? Uh, in Act 2, Act 2 begins in the house of John Proctor, 8 days after Abigail and Betty began accusing individuals of witchcraft. 8 days have been gone, and Proctor returns late after working in the fields and eats dinner with his wife Elizabeth. Elizabeth is Goody Proctor, you know. Proctor tells Elizabeth that he is striving to make her happy. He just said it. Now, you know what? When Abigail and the person Proctor, when they were with the affair that time, Goody Proctor, she was pregnant, and when Goody Proctor or Elizabeth, when she came to know about the affair of these two people, she just dismissed Abigail from the job. Elizabeth questions Proctor to find out if he was late for dinner because he had gone to Salem. She was asking him. She tells Proctor that their servant Mary Warren has been in Salem all day. Proctor becomes angry because he told Mary Warren not to go to Salem. Elizabeth tells Proctor that Mary Warren has been named an official of the court, and Proctor learns that four magistrates have been named to the general court, and the deputy governor of the province is serving as a judge. The court has jailed 14 people for witchcraft. Now now Mary Warren, she was gone to Salem, and she has given all the information regarding whatever was going on there. She has told everything to Elizabeth, that this was the judge, and these were the people over there, and there were 14 people who just went into the jail for witchcraft. Okay. Now this thing can also be asked in the in your paper, that how many people were there who has been in jail, for just because of this witchcraft. Elizabeth tells Proctor that he must go to Salem and reveal that Abigail is fake. Proctor hesitates and then reveals that he cannot prove what Abigail said because they were alone when they talked. Elizabeth becomes upset with Proctor because he did not tell her he spent time with alone with Abigail. So Proctor and Elizabeth argue. Both of them, they were arguing. So Proctor is angry because he believes Elizabeth is accusing him of dishonesty and is suspicious that he has resumed his affair with Abigail. Now Elizabeth is angry because she does not believe Proctor is completely honest with her. As you know that when at the first time she came to know about their affair, the affair between the Proctor and the Abigail, when she has known about it once, now she is again suspecting and doubting at her husband Proctor, that might be he is again in love with Abigail, and now again they are in contact with each other. Over this situation, Proctor is not happy. He's saying that she is thinking something wrong. Mary Warren returns to the Proctor house. Proctor is furious that she has been in Salem all day. Why? Because he was not wanting it. But Mary Warren tells him she will be gone every day because she is an official of the court. She just said. Now, Mary Warren gives Elizabeth a puppet that she made while in court. When she was in court, she just made a puppet, um, which is a doll sort of the thing. And Mary Warren gives Elizabeth a puppet, and then what happens? Mary Warren tells Elizabeth and Proctor that 39 people are in jail. Again, she's telling. And Goody Osborne will hang because she did not confess to witchcraft. She will be hanged because she was not confessing this thing. And she will be hanged because of this thing. Then Proctor becomes angry because he believes the court is condemning people without solid evidence. I mean, if a person is accusing somebody, the other person, just because of this particular thing, that person will be hanged. What is this nonsense? I mean, so Mary Warren states that Elizabeth was accused, but she defended Elizabeth, and the court dismissed the accusation. Now, Mary Warren, she was going to the court, and she said, after coming back from there, she said that. Where she was Elizabeth was also accused. Some of the people, they accused Elizabeth, and I think among them the most of at the top might be she was Abigail. And she just said that she just told people, no, this is not the scene. Elizabeth tells Proxy that Abigail wants to get it off her. Elizabeth believes that Abigail will accuse her of witchcraft and then uh, have her executed. Elizabeth realizes that Abigail wants to take her place as Proctor's wife. And this is the reason she was saying that Abigail is accusing her because she is wanting Proctor to to get Proctor back. And in order to be killed Elizabeth, she is just saying all these things because when she will be in the jail, Abigail will be very much easy. It will be very much easy for Abigail to be involved with Proctor. So that's why she is just wanting it. Then Elizabeth asked Proctor to speak to Abigail and tell her that no chance exists for Proctor marrying her if something happened to Elizabeth. Elizabeth and Proctor argue again. She just make the statement clear to her husband that just say this thing very clearly to everyone that this is not going to be the scene, and he's not going to marry her. Then Reverend Hale visits the Proctor house. He tells Elizabeth and Proctor that Elizabeth was named in court. He is also informing them. Hale questions Proctor about his poor attendance in church. Why didn't you go there? Hale asks Proctor to recite the Ten Commandments. Proctor can only recall nine, and Elizabeth reminds him of the one he forgot. The fact that Proctor forgets his particular commandment is not unintentional. Irony is created here because the audience, along with Proctor and Elizabeth, realizes that he really forgot the commandment when he had the affair with Abigail. Now, Proctor has not incorporated with this commandment into his life, so it fails to remain in his memory. This was the thing. Now, Proctor tells Hale that Abigail admitted to him that witchcraft was not reasonable for the children's ailments. Hale asks Proctor to testify in court that Abigail is a fraud. Hale then questions Elizabeth to find out if she believes in witches. He just asks Elizabeth that whether you believe in the witchcraft or not and all. So Giles Corey and Francis Nurse arrive and tell Proctor, Hale, and Elizabeth that the court has arrested both Martha and Rebecca for witchcraft. Now he is just telling them that it is this is the thing that is considered by them, and they are just looking at this thing, and they want to know whether this is the case or not. Now Elizabeth, she is the girl, she is also accused that she is involved in the witchcraft. So, of all of the people, as I have told you earlier, that they are just accusing one another uh, because of the involvement in this particular thing, like that though those people are involved in witchcraft, just because of get rid of those people, they are taking their names so that they may get to the jail, and they will be able to do the things. And among them, Abigail is the one who is at the top, because she was having affair with Proctor, and now she wants to take that place once again. And for this reason, she is having the idea that she should get rid of Elizabeth, so that she may uh, uh, get back her husband, Elizabeth's husband, which was Proctor. So, which is the let's come towards the next scene. Now, Mary Warren tells Hale that she made the doll in court that day and stored the needle inside the doll. She just did it. She was the one who did it. Mary Warren also states that Abigail saw her sewing because she sat next to Mary Warren. The men still take Elizabeth into custody, and Hale, Corey, and Nurse leave. So Proctor tells Mary Warren that she must testify in court against Abigail. Now, the doll that was given by Mary Warren to Elizabeth Proctor, people are considering that might be she was involved in witchcraft. That's why she's having this doll. But Mary Warren, she's claiming that this is the doll that was given by her to the people, to Elizabeth. She's just declaring it. Proctor tells Mary Warren that she must testify. Okay, then Proctor discovers that Mary Warren knows about his affair. She was just knowing it. Okay, so then what happens next is that we are done with the two acts. So this was basically the idea behind that every person was accusing one another that this person is involved in witchcraft, and the other person is saying that this person is involved in the witchcraft. But actually, the scene is that they were all the girls, Abigail, Betty, and Mary Warren, and the other person, they were telling all these things to Reverend Paris, that they were not involved in any sort of witchcraft in the wood, in the forest, or rather they were just, you know what, they were just performing the dance, nothing other than that. But all of the other people, they were not in the idea to get this sort of the thing. So let me make this thing clear to you once again, that these are the things that were going on in that period of time when it was written, when Crucible was written. And people were, this is actually a metaphor that is used. They were A play is written which was on witchcraft. It was written just basically the witchcraft is going on and the people are involved in this. But the fact is this, that on that time, historically, let's talk about, or in reality, people were actually accusing one another that this is the communist, and this is the person who is a communist. And the government, it was just like making people hang because of this reason. So this was the idea all about the Crucible. I think that you have got it clearly. If you want to ask something, you guys can ask. Please do ask if you want to ask something. And there are some of the things from the paper point of view, like if you are going to get the short questions, and of course the MCQs that I have told you, how many people were there who were sent to jail. So, and like uh, I can ask regarding the characters, that which character was involved with which person. For example, Abigail, she was involved with John Proctor, with Proctor. And who is the wife of Proctor? So she was Elizabeth. Other than that, another thing that can be asked from you guys is, for example, which were the girls who were involved in witchcraft? The short question you guys can have. So Betty, Abigail, Mary Warren, and the other maid as well. They were dancing in the forest, and about which they were accused. They were accused that they were performing the witchcraft. They were conjuring the spirits. And then comes the question like, which was the person who accused Goody Proctor. Goody Proctor, again, I'm just telling you, Elizabeth, she was the Goody Proctor. Okay, so this is the thing all about. Okay, so Then comes the thing like all of these things are important, so you guys are just supposed to memorize them, okay? If there is any question, girls, please do ask me.